this evening, Greek time, on Mount Athos, the monasteries of the Holy Mountain did a vigil to pray for the world that is suffering from the coronavirus. So it reminds me of an interesting experience I had on Mount Athos, where I had the pleasure of meeting a certain Father Athanasios, who many years back had been, during the occupation, he was starving. He was very hungry. And he went to the monastery of Iviron that at the time was idiorhythmic. Idiorhythmic is a type of system that developed during the Turkish occupation, where the monks do the services in common, but everything else they do on their own. Now all the monasteries on Mount Athos are cenobitic, where everyone does everything in common. They work at the same time, they eat at the same time, they do the services at the same time. In any case, Father Athanasios lived in a cell and he was starving. And he went to the monastery of Iviron, where at the gate of the monastery, they have the miracle-working icon of the keeper of the portal, the Portaitisa. And Father Athanasios asked for some bread. And unfortunately, the monks there didn't treat him too well. They said, "You have to have money to buy bread. If you don't have money, we can't give you any." And he left, and he was so sad, he started crying. And when he was crying, a woman appeared in front of him. Now I have to mention here that on Mount Athos, other than the Virgin Mary, there's no women. And she said, "Why are you crying?" And he said, "I'm starving, I'm very hungry. I went to the monastery, I asked for some bread, and they told me that if I don't have any coins, any money, I can't get any bread, and I don't have any coins." And the woman gave him some coins, and furthermore, they were Mexican coins. And I don't know if at the time he thought to ask, like, "Who are you?" But he was so happy, he took the coins, he went to the monastery, he gave him the coins, and when the gatekeeper saw the coins, he recognized that these Mexican coins were coins that had been hung on the icon of the keeper of the portal. And he was the only one, the gatekeeper was the only one who had the keys to the chapel. And they built the chapel at the gate because 3 times the Virgin Mary, when the icon was found, the monks put the icon in the church, and the next night they would find the icon at the gate. And after that happened 3 times, the Panagia appeared to the monks there and said, "Listen, I didn't come here for you to guard me, I came here so I could guard you." So the monks built a chapel at the gate, and the Virgin Mary's at the gate there. And many, many miracles have happened. 3 copies of that icon have shed tears and so forth. In any case, so when the monk said, "Where'd you get these coins?" He said, "Well, a woman gave them to me." He says, "What do you mean a woman gave them? There's no women on Mount Athos." And they realized it was the Virgin Mary, and it was a miracle. And so they rang the bells, they called all the fathers, and at that spot where the Virgin Mary appeared to Father Athanasios, he built a chapel, and he built his tomb right next to the chapel, and he loved the Virgin Mary very much. Later on, he became abbot of the monastery, and I had the pleasure of meeting him. And it goes to show you that the Virgin Mary helps us in misfortunes and prays for the whole world, and it's very likely that the prayers of the innocent infants, the monastics, and holy people in the world probably keep the world afloat. I remember once Father Philotheos Zerbakos mentions in a book that he wrote probably in the 1940s, and he describes 12 visions that he had, and one of them was that the world was being destroyed, and the Virgin Mary begged her son, and Christ was saying there's too much sin, and the Virgin Mary begged, and finally, because the Virgin Mary begged her son, the world was spared. And it goes to show you that she constantly prays for the world. In any case, I hope that both the story of the siege of Constantinople that was saved in 626 that I talked about in Greek, and the true story with Father Athanasios gives us courage in these difficulties we're going through, that I'm sure with the Virgin Mary's prayers and the prayers of all the fathers, God will help. But it calls on us to be repentant. It's not just a matter of asking God for help, but we need to live in a way that we can be worthy of help. So we need to live a life of repentance. And to be confessing and communing when we're able, that is, to have harmony with one another, to not commit lewd sins of any type, to live a pure life, and so forth. So I pray that with God willing, with us all repenting, with the prayers of the Holy Fathers and the Virgin Mary, that God has mercy on us and heals the people who are suffering. Amen.